Victoria, I have known for probably more than a decade. Victoria was a friend of mine when I was competing in pageants, and she's gone through a really cool transition too, which is why I wanted her to be able to share her story here. Let me go ahead and bring Victoria on so that she can tell you all her story. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, unmute. Perfect. You're good to go, girl.
Hi there, I'm Victoria. I have been competing in pageants for about 7 or 8 years. My first pageant was a later in life, late teens. Initially, I didn't hire a coach. I taught myself and watched the other girls. I've seen some progress as I was competing, but wasn't really enough. I ended up hiring a coach a little bit later, and that worked out great. But unfortunately, I took a break and had some medical issues and had to have surgery. And then unfortunately, I had to take some time off, and I was idle for about 10 years. And then this year, I was like, oh man, time got away from me, and I was going to age out of the international system. And I did not want that opportunity to pass. So I was going to jump in, both feet in. I had about 3 months to prepare before the state pageant for the international system. And I had worked with Alycia in a different capacity, and I had followed her throughout the years. And like she said, we had been friends. So I immediately jumped on her YouTube channel, podcast, bought her book. So I had the 3 months to prepare. And during that time, I had realized that I had no strategy as I was preparing for the pageants before. And I only was looking at surface level things. And I went into my pageant and did very well, got great comments. And that was only looking at the free stuff that she had to offer. And I think God had a plan for me. So right after the state pageant, Alycia had the jump start. So without hesitation, I jumped right into the jump start. And that's where I was introduced to the academy. And at the time, I had a lot of hesitation, where I'm sure is a lot of stuff that you guys are thinking of. Do I have the time? Is this for me? Am I good enough? These girls, these are hardcore girls. Like, is this for me? Do I have the money? And it took me a while to figure out, can I even do this? And I decided, if God didn't want me to do this, he wouldn't have brought this opportunity in front of me. So let me tell you, it was the best decision I've ever made. The academy is more than just pageantry. It changed my life. Yes, it has taught me about the legacy project, but I have taken that legacy project and I've started a business. And my legacy project is Cope with Hope. I have a chronic invisible illness, and I am now helping others to manage their invisible and chronic illnesses and give them a life back. And the Win a Pageant Academy helped me do that. So if you're having these reservations, don't, because it will help you accomplish things that you would have never thought you could have.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And for, it is incredible to see how our relationship over time, and you knew me before I even knew the legacy project concept, and it's like the way that I coached and the way that I even performed back then. And so it must be kind of interesting from your perspective to be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And now she's over here doing that. Huh? Like, I'm just curious, what have you noticed, or did you notice any changes, or was there anything that you felt as like, okay, now she's doing it different than she's ever done it before? Did you notice that or not necessarily? I'm kind of just curious.
Um, you know, I have. I feel like it's a lot deeper. It's it's going from a different perspective and in deeper into trying to figure out how to put this. Um it's more of, like I said before, it's going from a strategy perspective now.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like before it was,
It was kind of like what everyone else was doing, which
yeah,
is kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, like, which
exactly.
is kind of like, just like, oh, let me show you what I can do. And let me show
Yeah,
you what I've done in the past. And yeah,
yes,
because like that is a cool kind of perspective that you have because, there's a few other girls who have been in doing the work that I've done now that worked with me in the past. And I think that you're right. It certainly has the work that I've done is adapted and changed and become this is the strategy. Before it was kind of like, this worked for me. Let me show you what I did.
yeah,
And it's like that. If it doesn't work for everybody, though, then it's not a real strategy, right? But now we have real language around it. We have actual structure. We have positioning. We have a perfect way of, hey, here's how we get the message out. And so now you can just plug right into that,
absolutely.
That's so cool. That's good. Wow, Victoria. Well, thank you so much. I know Victoria's got to run, so we're not going to keep her on here for much longer, but I just want to say thank you for trusting me again, especially having experienced working together and knowing me with when I kind of was just like making it up as I went. Like, that's kind of how a lot of people start is they're like, let's just kind of like see how this goes as a mentor. And now it's really become something that can, work for everybody. So I appreciate you entrusting that process with me. And maybe could I ask you to share just a bit about what it has been like for you to transition mentally when you first joined the academy? It was all about the pageant. And then we were like, all of a sudden, like, no, now we're starting a business. So, okay, how do we do this from a business perspective and still preserve the authenticity and the integrity of a legacy project? Can you share a little bit about what that experience has been like for you?
So initially, I found it challenging to try and separate that because you don't want to go into a pageant where the judges feel like you're trying to sell them on a business. So to try and separate a business from the pageantry was a bit difficult. So looking at the legacy project and trying to build your pillars and then to separate that in the business was difficult, but having you guys as the coaches to separate the business foundation of, okay, the business is going to be built on, this course, as this is what you're going to do to provide the clients with this, where this is how you're going to help potential people through your legacy project by, for example, a free teachable course. This is how you're going to help them with this and follow up with this. Your 3 pillars are going to be, for example, cope with hope. You're going to work through social, physical, and emotional. Those are your 3 things that are usually affected when you have an illness. So to separate working one-on-one through the business and then more of your legacy project, and to help separate the two and having you guys work with me to separate those. But initially it was difficult working through that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course it is. I know that's certainly something that for a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, it's kind of my business. So how do I manage this, for the pageant? And you've done such an incredible job, Victoria, only being in the cat. I think you are our newest member of the academy and you've already achieved, like you're starting the business, like the things are taking off all of a sudden, it's just incredible to watch your growth. So thank you for being on, Victoria. I appreciate you. And I know you got to run, so we're going to let you go. Thank you.
Yeah.